I was really shit at it in the beginning. I failed so many times.
Jeremy Hoffman.
Jeremy Hoffman.
Jeremy Hoffman.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was super good and I had so much talent, didn't use that talent to end up where I wanted to be. In all those years, I didn't draw at all. Never. I was 40. Maybe I need to stop talking about the past. I created a plan to get there in 5 years. But then a year later, suddenly the studio closed down where I worked. And then I thought, well, this is my moment and I'm gonna jump into the deep. I picked up where I left it as a small kid. I remembered sitting behind my desk, drawing day in, day out. My mom painted, but she painted for herself. And my dad, he was a construction worker, so he didn't have any knowledge about art. But he knew that I wanted to do something with drawing. When I went to the attic at home, I found all these old sketches that he took them out of my garbage bin and saved them in the attic.
Wow.
I did it day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year.
Does stress play a role in your life anymore?
What triggers me is people are afraid. They are afraid of making mistakes. I've seen so many artists out there, they are so stressed on a social media level about pleasing the audience. If you start to worry about what other people think about what you do, then you lose yourself as well. And that's why I think you need to stay close to yourself. If you do what you love, and if people have a problem with that.
Quick one, I wanted to speak directly with you all before we jump into this episode. As you can see, we're scaling up and shifting course. How I'm doing that is evolving into these conversations. So one favor, if you've ever watched this show, and especially if you've enjoyed it or learned something new and interesting, do me a favor and follow on this platform or just share these videos around. It really, really helps me scale up the production, scale up the guests, so everything just gets bigger and bigger. And I promise I will repay that gesture by making sure everything gets better and better and bigger and bigger. How does that sound?
Jeremy Hoffman.
Yeah.
So, in your own words, who are you? What do you do? And why is it important?
Ooh. Okay, 3 questions in one.
The end.
In my work, who am I? Well, I'm Jeremy Hoffman. I'm a character designer. I'm pretty new in the industry for animation. Been a freelancer now for 2 years. And before that, I worked in the game industry for 14 years, I guess. So that's a long time. And before that, I worked in the advertising world for 4 years. I think in my work, I'm the kid that I used to be. As sketching, exploring, having fun, drawing whatever I like. And you have different levels of my work is my personal work when I sketch. And of course, when I work for studios, then I use that experience that I gained during all those years as a artist or as a kid. I started to become a graphic designer. It's a thing that happened as a kid. When I was a small kid, I used to draw always. Always drawing characters, having a lot of fun with that. But then at a certain age, I don't know, I was 15, 16, you're at school, puberty, different things, distractions, and then you draw less and less. And then I wanted to go to art school, but then in expressive art, because my mom also painted, not as a profession, but for herself, expressive art, big paintings in the house. So I was always attracted to that in my heart. I mean, as a kid, I went to museums with my mom. Although I always drew as characters in cartoon style, I always liked the expressive world. We always had the books with Picasso and Klimt and I don't know, all the abstract painters. So nowadays kids have the art books with cartoons, so they get inspired by that. But I had those crazy books as a kid I didn't know what I saw. But although it stuck in my head, the characters that I did were cartoony. So when I applied for art school, they didn't gave me the chance because at that time they didn't see a cartoon style as a good thing in art.
In an art school, they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then they didn't accept me as a student. So then I thought, okay, what do I need to do? And at that time, I mean, at this moment, I'm 47. Do I say that correct?
In this moment in time,
Yeah.
not when you applied for college, right?
Yeah. Many years ago, there weren't that many options in school. I mean, nowadays you have for games, for animation, for whatever. And then I choose something that was the closest to me. That was graphic design, and I used to do graffiti when I was a kid. So I thought, okay, graffiti is with creating words on walls, and okay, advertising is also with words, and so I thought maybe there's a connection. And then I think you can draw a bit. So I hope to find some other students that love to draw, but it was a bummer because I was the only kid, I guess, almost in school that loved to draw. Everybody was focused on other things. Got a diploma for a graphic designer. Also added 1 year in multimedia. Was also coming up in those years with the internet, etc. Yeah, I needed to find a job. Couldn't find something in the industry, and I ended up in a clothing store for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's funny. And in all those years, I didn't draw at all.
Never in the clothing store. You never drew.
No, maybe once in a while, but it was really like randomly. I don't know. If I compare it with now I almost draw each day. But that was the thing that I did as a kid. As a small kid, I remembered sitting behind my desk or at the table, drawing day in, day out. When I was 12, 13, 14, piles of paper. My dad bought those piles of paper at the shop, and he bought the copy paper. So for copy machine, do you say it correctly?
Yeah.
Because those were cheap. So I had big piles of copy paper on my desk, and one after another, and sketching. And I remember that I threw away a lot of drawings at that time because I failed so many times. And then later on, many years later, when I went to the attic at home, I found all these old sketches that were, how do you say it, crumpled
up. Wow.
And my dad, he took them out of my garbage bin and saved them in the attic. So
Your
that's a
dad did
memory.
that. Wow.
That's funny. And I was, why did he save that? I picked up where I left it at maybe 16, 17. That passion is back again. And that's why I'm really enjoying my moment, and I'm really using that freedom in what I do. And I'm really enjoying every minute of it. It's also, I don't feel restricted in any way. And I have a lot of stuff, experience to compare things with. I mean, I've worked in studios, in-house, in games, in complete productions, from start to end. I worked in the advertising world with deadlines, so I'm super drilled and trained in meeting expectations, know how to divide my time. So I'm capable of doing that as well. But now I'm really using that freedom and letting go that tightness. But I use that knowledge, of course, to guide myself through the world of animation now.
Something that stuck out to me there is, obviously your parents, they seem to be very supportive of your passion at an early age.
Yeah, in a way, like they supported me in the background. They never pushed me or anything.
Yeah.
And my mom painted, but she painted for herself on a personal level. But she never taught me anything. She didn't interfere with what I was doing. She just let me draw because she was also focused on her own paintings and her own journey as a artist, learning things. And my dad, he liked what I did, but he was a construction worker, so he didn't have any knowledge about art. But he liked that I draw and that I had fun with it. So that my parents let me do whatever I wanted to do. But they always told me, you need to study. Study is important because both of them never had a education or something, and they thought it was important for me. So I used that support to do that.
But they never told you should follow this path?
No, absolutely
everything.
not. I could do whatever I wanted to do. But I already knew when I was a small kid, when I was 9, 10, 11, I don't know, I already knew that I wanted to do something with drawing. Even my teachers at that school said that you will be an illustrator or something. It's always been the case. But I never, that's the thing that I miss maybe in those years, that maybe you said like nobody push you, but thinking back, I wish that I had people that supported me more, like trained me or learned me anything. Because when I think about artists, for example, with Picasso, they had their parents. I thought his father was also a teacher, a painter. So he got his father learned him everything at a young age. So those are cool thoughts. Like, okay, that would have been cool if you had a parent that's super good, that teaches you, so that when you're, I don't know, 15, 16, you're top notch.
But do you think that would be worth it then if you hit that peak too early and you don't have the experience?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, but I don't. It's an idea. Okay, what would have happened if that would have been the case? But I don't mind. I'm really happy about where I am now, and that's also a thing that I've learned to let go of the past and focus on the future. That's the same thing with that I made a decision a couple of years ago to switch to become a character designer. I mean, at the moment when I was in doubt about where I was 40. I had been working for 15 years in the game industry, and I was thinking, okay, is this where I want to stay for the future? And I was thinking about when I was young, and once in a while I was talking with friends or to other people like, okay, when I was a kid, I was super good and I had so much talent, and I didn't use that talent to grow and end up where I wanted to be. Although I was super happy that I could draw for a living in the game studio, because don't understand me wrong, it was awesome. I could do everything I wanted, but it was in a different area, in a different. I worked on certain IPs that weren't that close to me, and always thought, okay, characters were so cool. And then when I was 40, I told myself, maybe I need to stop talking about the past, about when I was a kid and why did I never improved on that level with characters. And then I thought, well, maybe I need to start now. Well, I created a plan to get there in 5 years. I had a friend, a good friend of mine. He also made a switch. He was in the same studio where I worked, and he wanted to become a storyboard artist for the big studios. And we were like, yeah, right, around the world, because nowadays it's easy to connect with the studios around the world, but back in the days it wasn't possible. You needed to move to the States or something to get there. And but he made a plan for 5 years, and he practiced every day, studied the tutorials, etc. And after 5 years, he said goodbye, and he jumped into the deep, and he became a storyboard artist. So, and he was gone, and I was like, wow, you did it, man, super cool. And then when I reached that point of, okay, I'm in doubt about what I want, and I was thinking about him, oh man, he did it, why can't I do it? So then I called him, okay, let's talk. And he inspired me, gave me tips about, okay, you can start here or give yourself a plan. And then for me, that journey started. I kept on working full time, had a family, kids, so I needed to pick my time in the evenings, sometimes at night to practice. When I went to work in the morning, I bought little sketchbooks to practice drawing from life. I was really shit at it in the beginning. I was like, oh no, I can't do this. But I stuck to it, and I did it every day. I listened to podcasts, to interviews from all kinds of artists to get more knowledge, inspiration. Remember somebody said with drawing each day, it's better to do it a couple of minutes each day than maybe an hour in 2 weeks. And so then I try to adapt it in my system. Like he mentioned, like it needs to become a habit, like brushing your teeth. And I thought, okay, let's do it. And then I started to, when I went to work by train, started to sketch in my lunch break, started to observe people outside the window in the park. When I went back home, so I had already 3 times a day that I started to practice. And I did it day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. And that's only on observing. And then at the side, I kept on learning on other things with shapes, with styles, with, whatever was out there. And along the way, I almost reached those 5 years. And then I think in the 4th year, I made the decision to work 1 day less a week. I asked the studio if I was allowed. I thought, well, maybe I can do some little bit of freelance, see if that works. Tried that. It worked a little bit, but I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to do some freelance work once a week, man, maybe I need to do it 2 days then. So also in the weekend. But then you have a working week of six days. That doesn't work with family and kids. So I thought that's not a success. But then a year later, suddenly the studio closed down where I worked. And then I thought, I was hoping for it that it would happen. And then I thought, well, this is my moment and I'm going to jump into the deep. So, and then, things happened and I started to work for studios. But connecting to that, because I'm only talking about this line in my journey, at the site, I also had a line running with posting things on Instagram. So when I started to sketch, I decided, okay, I'm going to post things on Instagram for myself, not to gain followers. I didn't care, still don't care about the amount of followers or something. I just wanted to post for myself like a diary. And I remember the first post that I did, there was, I posted it and I showed my wife and she told me like, you need to put a hashtag in it. And I was like, what's the hashtag? And then, okay, now I'm really feeling old. But she reminded me, okay, put a hashtag in it. And then along the way, by posting each day, I got more attention by followers. And during these days, it increased. But again, I didn't care about the followers. But at a certain point, I got really cool artists or directors that started to follow me, or recruiters. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe there is a chance for me that I'm doing something correct. Because I was really in doubt about, am I good enough? And there are so many character designers out there. They are so skilled. They can do so many cool and good things. I'm missing out on so many skills, because I was aware about that when I started with that journey. Like, okay, I really need to learn a lot. Although I have so much experience in the game industry, character designer is a different discipline and skill. So I need to be humble, start at the beginning, like a student, and then learn. But also then being insecure about certain things that I did, because I knew that I use a certain freedom, and I first thought it was a sort of a weakness in creating characters. But then I learned that it's a strength. And with freedom, I mean, I let go of rules. I don't tie myself up to getting at a certain endpoint with creating things. I just follow my instinct, my heart, and then sometimes you end up in really cool creative situations. It's the freedom that we have as a kid. Huh? It's the same thing with kids that play in the fields, who play soccer. They don't care about big football leagues or whatever. They just have fun. It doesn't need to be perfect. They just play football, run, laugh, fall, get up, get filthy, and later on when it becomes a profession, you become more serious and you lose the joy of it, because it's about making money. And I told myself, it's not for me about making money. It's about finding myself again and having that joy. And in this case, well, I'm super happy that I can make people happy with it and inspire people with it, because it's not only with the fact that I draw and that I inspire people with those drawings, but it's also probably with the path that I've walked that gives people hope or recognition, or because I've been in the shoes of other artists like Insecure, and but believe in yourself and just go for that. And I always told myself, I don't care if I will become a character designer or not. Really. For me, it was all about the journey. All the people that I met in all those years, that's so valuable. I mean, if I wouldn't have making those steps, then I would be at the same spot, not happy, not drawing at home. Thinking back, if I wouldn't have made it, I would have missed out on so many things. And who could have guessed that I would end up where I am now? Sitting at this table, for example.
Not me.
That's a thing that's super funny, that you never thought about those things, and then luckily, you do something that is appreciated by other artists, and that's super great. I mean, also gives me a proud feeling that I did it and that I stuck to it, my ideas, and again, and everything that comes on my path is something extra, as something, an awesome memory. Couldn't be happier on that level.
Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately that you've brought up is this idea of play and how important it is to be open to the world and be playful in it. Like you said, like kids are.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more apparent to me that it is essentially the key to having a good experience in life.
Yeah.
Is being playful.
Yeah.
So if we talk about that as an actionable thing for artists to look through, that's what you say, I'm just trying to play with my drawings. I'm just having fun. I want this freedom.
Yeah.
But you also say inspiration is good for people as well. Are you just having fun creating your art, or is also the idea of inspiration important to you as well?
No, I think the first thing for me is that I need to have fun myself. Because if I have fun, then I can send that positivity to others. That's also, I think it's a golden rule. You need to do it for yourself, because I've seen so many artists out there, they are so stressed on a social media level about pleasing the audience, and they are really getting stressed out of that because of that. And that's why I think you need to stay close to yourself. If you do what you love, then people will see that. And if you start to worry about what other people think about what you do and how you need to do it, then you start to pleasing them instead of yourself. And then that's like almost doing work that you don't like. And it's also for me, also connected to that, because when I worked in the studios and I was missing certain creativity, and it was also was one of my first steps that I needed to learn that I don't need to rely with my happiness on my work. So that's when I also started to not only practice things, but also sketch for myself in my sketchbook with the ideas about things that I liked, stories that I liked, themes that I liked, things from when I was a kid, or from movies or whatever. And I started to draw those kinds of things. And then I was thinking about, hey, why didn't I do that before? Because if you have certain expectations at work, like I want to draw like this, and you know you can't, but you get frustrated about it, take away that expectation from your work and move it to your own stuff, because then you have something to look out to when you're at home, and it gives you energy, and maybe it inspires you to do certain things at work you can use. So for me, it's really important that I have my happiness within me, because if I hold on to the job that makes me happy, that job won't be there forever. That's reality. And if that job leaves, I'm still happy now, because I have my sketchbooks. I can sketch wherever I want, whatever I want to, and I'm my own boss. And that connects to that freedom. I feel free every day. And if I work, then I also have a blast. I love it, working for the studios, the coolest projects. I never imagined that could happen. So I'm lucky that I have both things. I get energy from work, but I still keep on sketching for myself, because I also learned that when I sketch for myself, I learn so many things that I can use at the job. So it's a win-win situation.
Certain people, they work their jobs. And like you said, they just work and they try to find happiness in their work. Things change. That is the only thing that's true in the universe, is things will change. Yeah. Everything changes. Yeah. That is the truth of the world. It's the only thing we can rely on. Yeah, we have to be adaptable. But at the same time, you've got this voice in your head saying, oh, fine, do that, be happy, do that, be happy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it takes time for people to realize, there's other ways to think about this.
Yeah.
There's other ways to find inner happiness. So I'm curious for you, when did that moment occur for you where you said, whoa, I'm actually not happy doing this at the moment. I want to transition and do this instead?
Yeah, I think that happened when I was 40. And that's an age. I've got a lot of friends from the same age. It's a certain point that you reach, like, okay, is this life? You're in the middle almost with the future, and And in my case, also having a family and kids. And then you think about, okay, is this it? Does it make me happy? Do I miss things? And then and you work hard in studios, and sometimes I also had a burnout at a certain point because of work with stress. And then you start to think about it. Okay, will this happen more in the future? Will it get less? Or does this make me happy? And then you become realistic about, okay, life is short. You need to enjoy every minute of it, and you need to take chances. I don't want to die and that I would regret that I didn't do things. That's really a thing that's in the back of my mind constantly. When I die, then I want to say I did what I wanted to do. That's why I made that decision to do it, because then I wouldn't be happy. And now I already did so many things that I never expected to do. Things that I said, I will never do this. I will never do an interview. Those things. But then I said, no, just try, man. I mean, don't be afraid that things go wrong. If things go wrong, learn from it. That's also because that's the thing that stops people. Huh? People are afraid. They are afraid of making mistakes, to fail. What would other people think? And what triggers me is, I think that not fail, but you already succeed when you try. And that's really, and it's not to be like, to idolize it. It's really, I really mean it. Just give it a try. It makes you so proud. Even if you don't succeed, then you can tell yourself, I tried. I always said I would never do it, but I did it. Didn't went how I planned, but I already made the first step. And if you're then strong enough or gather the strength again, okay, I'm going to give it another try, see what happens then. And then it's sometimes you fall down, you bump your nose, whatever, and you get up. And it hurts sometimes, and you cry sometimes. It's part of life. I mean, and I think a lot of people are really afraid of those things with failing and all the emotions that are connected, and getting depressed. But all those things I see as a positive things, because you learn from that. Okay, if you're depressed, okay, then think about, what can I do about it? Sometimes jump in the deep.
You're perpetually happy now.
I'm super happy
You're
now.
Super happy.
And that's really that's a question people often ask me. It's really, it comes from the bottom of my heart. I'm so happy with creating. Also happy that I'm in the middle of other artists, because when I was a kid, I never had friends that were creative. I had friends, but I was alone on that level. Never understood me about creating, or I think about certain things. And along the way, I made so many friends on art level, on a certain level, because there are so many levels of how you talk about art and passionate. You have also artists that really are focused on making money. And that's a good thing. It's a job. But I'm the artist that's really focused on creating awesome things and creating magic and connecting. And of course, it's important to earn money, because I have family. I need to support them as my kids. But the happiness is the most important thing. And I don't need much. I don't think in big cars. If I can pay my bills, we have food at the table, and we can do some small things that we're happy with, I'm super happy and grateful. And I have my art, my own thing as well, because when you have a certain age, you're a dad and a husband, but you also want to be yourself at a certain point and do things you like, because that's important. If you sacrifice yourself only for others, and then you lose yourself as well. I mean, it's not a bad thing to think about yourself. Well, the same thing with, do I draw for myself or for to inspire others? No, first for myself. I want to be happy, because if I'm happy, I have more energy to help others. If I'm not happy, then I can't help others. So that's my philosophy.
Does stress play a role in your life anymore?
Not like it used to be, because I can have stress from things, but I don't have stress from work. I don't have stress from Instagram or posting or whatever.
Except the hashtags, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really don't worry about, because what I mentioned, we just talked about, that there are so many artists that get stressed out, burned out by social media. I have to leave social media because all the thoughts and worries, and I don't have it. But also, I have a clear border for myself. I don't focus too much on comments or direct messages, because if I would do so, then you get sucked into that world, and I don't want that. I want to focus on, and sometimes I reply to a message, but I choose to do it whenever I want to. So and stress in life, of course, things happen in life when you have stress or insecurity. Everybody has stress, I guess. You have your creative path, you have work path, you have personal life, family. There are all kinds of stress factors in there. But I'm luckily, I don't worry too much about small things. It's also a thing that I've learned. I see so many things worry about small things, and it takes a lot of it costs you so much energy. And I think, like, please focus on important things in life. Those small things don't change your life. You can't influence that. Focus on the things where you can make changes, and things happen, and then let it go. Continue. Focus on the future. That's really it's wasted time sometimes to worry about too small things, and it's easier said than done, because I know that sometimes things get stuck in your head, but you have to practice that, I guess. And even if you remind yourself of, okay, don't worry about it, that's already a good thing, because then you become aware about, okay, that's not important. Focus on the good things in life, the positive things in life.
Do you think drawing has kind of brought that into your life for you? Because I know you said before that you will find moments of time within your day and sketch. You're always carrying sketchbooks around.
Yeah.
So you're sketching, you become very present.
Yeah.
Does that help kind of relieve pressure, or you find happiness in those moments?
It's just, I don't know. I've got the urge to draw, to create. I have so many ideas in my head. Just makes me happy. I don't know. It's creating. Well, that's the thing that I was thinking about last week, because we talked a little bit last week about inspiring people, and it made me think about inspiring, and what's super important, that you inspire yourself. Because I was thinking about that, and that's also why I post for myself. I inspire myself to improve. I post my ideas, and then I inspire myself to continue with that. So it starts as well with yourself. If you can get in that flow, then nobody can stop you. And that's what I noticed. I inspire myself. When I go to bed, once in a while I go to my Instagram and I go, what did I draw a couple of months ago? Oh yeah, this was cool. I need to pick this idea up again, or I need to practice this part. So I inspire myself with what I do.
Wow.
So that's yeah. And I get inspiration everywhere. I mean, from life, from artists, but you need to find it in yourself, because then you stay loyal to your own thing. If I would focus too much on others, then you slowly start to bend maybe towards that art thing or artist. And I think, well, I can inspire myself. I have so many ideas. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, it feels like that.
Because it's funny that, when we initially talked, right, always my first approach is, okay, would you like to do the podcast?
Yeah.
By the way, this is the point of the podcast. We pick something to talk about that inspires you.
Yeah.
But we couldn't come to a consensus on that. The closest we got was Hugo the Hippo, I think.
Yeah, that was because we talked about animation movies.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But that's why I was like, okay, this is a great conversation to have, because how you approach your inspiration is, it's not just one source.
No,
I'm
absolutely
sure many
not.
people are like that. But I mean, something that really struck me is how you describe things with your senses.
Yeah.
And that is not something that I had heard before. Most people talk in visual sense.
Yeah.
But sounds or smells, even tastes inspire you.
It's in everything. If you talk about a taste or about a smell, it's all based also on memories, on things that you experienced before. And it can be in music, can be related to music in a movie, that a scene happened, and you adapt to that. And I'm a guy that really gets into movies. I really experience, I step in that world and I can get emotional about it or scared or whatever. I suck in that moment. The same thing with friends or situations in the world. I can try to step in that emotion. So that's why probably with so many elements, or maybe how light falls, or with colors, it reminds me of something. And sometimes there's a feeling behind it. And then sometimes I can't place my finger on it, but it's an instinct, or I don't know. And sometimes it's really a visual thing that I automatically know what it refers to. But it's in everything. When I draw, I always play music. And when I draw on a certain theme, I put on music that is connected to that theme. If I draw cowboys, I love to listen to Ennio with the Western music. When I have a Christmas theme, I put on Christmas music. And that's a funny thing. When I listen to music, I never listen to the lyrics. I listen to the sound and the feeling that it gives me. And sometimes I listen to a song and it can make me cry because it has a certain emotion in me. Maybe I come up with my own story connected to that, like almost a movie scene. So it's like you're creating scenarios in situations because of a memory or a smell or a light, or and then automatically a story appears, an emotion. And then if the situation appears, then you automatically, at least me, step into that situation, and then things can happen. How would I react, or what would I do? And then, yeah, a story happens in my head.
Okay. But you focus primarily on character design then.
Yeah.
So how does that manifest through the characters then? Do you paint the characters in a scene, or you're designing a character?
No, as a character designer for studios, I'm more focused on the concept part. So you get a description of a character or a script, and then depending on the task, I explore options for that character. How do I see it? And then I do research and also dig in my own experiences or memories. And then you try to find the right character that suits that role. And then there are so many ways to visualize a character. I mean, there are so many choices to be made to create the right character. It's not only in the looks, it's in how they behave, how they think, how they act. It's not only about what you wear in clothes, but how you wear it. You can wear it in 10,000 ways that tell all a different story. Too tight, too loose, torn down, filthy, but then with a reason behind it. If you have a small kid with really large pants on that's too big, maybe he has an older brother that gave him that pants because they don't have much money. Or maybe when they're poor, a kid wears a too tight short pants because they couldn't afford a new pants. I don't know. There's a story within everything. My goal is to find those elements and put it in there so that it makes it credible and that you feel it and it makes it unique and that it fits the story. You dive into that character. You try to understand how that person feels, how it would react, what it would do. And it's about, when you look at a character, it's a first impression that you have. I mean, you can sketch a character in a certain pose that it's doing something or thinking something, but just even if it stands still, you have a certain look and you have a first impression. If you go to the streets or you have an interview with somebody you don't know, you look at somebody. What did they do to their hair, or what kind of clothes do they wear? It tells something about that person. And it's not that it needs to be that it's the truth about you think about somebody, because sometimes you have it wrong, but it's your first impression. And everybody has a first impression. I mean, that's what you do. And that's with characters as well. So I try to get the right impression when people look at that character, that it fits the story.
You say you mix in your experience as well. So do you think now you're in your late 40s?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're a phenomenal artist, of course.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, of course, yeah, it's beautiful work. You inspire so many people. But with age comes experience.
Yeah.
So do you think that, let's say you had this ability to take ideas from your head through your hand to the paper, but when you're 19 or 20, do you think it would be as valuable a skill as you have now?
No, I think the older you get, the more experience you get on so many levels in life, things that happen to you. but also about being at a younger age, you're more insecure because you didn't experience many things.
You think insecurity comes from a lack of experience?
Can be. It depends on personality, because some people are really secure about themselves. So that depends. You can't combine it into one answer. But I do think so. The unknown thing. I mean, that's why you need to go out and live. That's the same thing for artists, for young artists, because I know a lot of artists are more closed in personality. They're stuck in their own room at home. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I think it's really valuable to go out there and experience life, and don't be afraid, because a lot of people talk about, well, I couldn't draw because this happened, or my mom or my parents or friends or somebody died and I got an accident. That's part of life. Everybody has his own story, but you need to embrace those moments and see if you can give it a spot in life. And then you can use your art to express that feeling, that insecurity. And then, but don't be afraid. You need to gain experience, because depending on what you want to do with your art, but in case with character design, the whole world is filled with people. And if you go out there and you observe and you meet people, you can use that knowledge to put in your artwork.
I like that answer, because it touches on what we were talking about earlier, in the sense of when young people post on Instagram, younger people, and they have all these things and issues in their head, and will this be liked enough? I only got 2 likes on this one,
absolutely.
And all this kind of expectation.
Yeah.
Right. So you're layering an expectation. Whereas most people would say, people who win succeed, but actually what happens is they fail a lot more than other people. And now you've just seen them when they've, for the first time, succeeded,
Yeah.
They've outfailed the competition, basically. Do you think that's important in art as well? Or at least change that in their head, so it doesn't say, I'm not failing, I'm succeeding by drawing?
Yeah. I think you need to look at it in a positive way. I think it's important when you fail. I don't like the word failure, because when you try it, that's what I said before, then you already did a great thing. But I think it's good for yourself to see if you can find the spot where it went wrong. Okay, and how can because try to learn from your mistakes, because if you don't learn it, you keep on making the same mistakes. Don't be stubborn. Sometimes you need to learn, or put in some extra practice, or get out of your house. Then sometimes you need to step out of your victim role, and maybe sometimes it's harsh to say, but sometimes it's the best thing to say to help people. No, now put yourself together and try it again. Or what went wrong? Maybe you need to go in a different road, different direction. Try to learn from those situations. Don't see it as a failure. See it as something. Okay, I tried this. This didn't work. Why didn't it work? Okay, I made the wrong turn. I need to do it over again, but then faster or whatever. Try to think about it. Challenge yourself in learning, because that is so valuable. Because if you succeed, then things become boring and maybe you always play it safe. But sometimes you need to take a challenge. Maybe you already know you will fail, but then you already experience, like, okay, what's out there? Okay, these will be the things that I will bump into later on. But now I have it clear that these are obstacles. So how can I go around these obstacles, or I can conquer these problems or whatever? Just try it, because then you get more clarity about what's there. And if you are afraid to make those mistakes, you will never know what's out there. So it's better to bump your nose to those, parts, because then you know where you're going or what you need to do.
You mentioned victim there.
Yeah.
Victim role. Is that what you said? Could you just break that down a bit more for me?
Yeah, it sounds like a harsh word. It's not a victim. But sometimes if you tell yourself, I can't do this because of, and you find so many reasons, but often people are conditioning themselves in a situation that they see themselves that they are like that because of they are like that. And I think it's also a thing that is depending on the situation. Don't get me wrong. you can change the view on yourself. I can't do it because I'm lazy. I can't do it. No, then try to adjust it. And if you tell you something that you are in a certain way, then you will believe that you are like that. I've learned that at a later age, that I can change my own, because everything is based on patterns in your life, that you always do it in the same way. And I do it because I am like that. And you started to believe that because you tell yourself, I am like that. I can't do it because I never could do it. But sometimes, or often, people think about a situation back in their life when they were a kid and they couldn't do it then. And they always said, when they became older and old, I can't do it because then this happened. And then 20 years later and 30 years later, I can't do it because you're talking about when you were 10 or whatever, or it happened when you're now more mature. You experience more things in life. Try it again. Don't be afraid. Just try it again. And you'll see that maybe you are not the person you think you are, and you can do way more things. That's so important mindset in your head. Believe in yourself. There are parts in you that you can change, but you need to tell yourself, no, I can do it. I can try it. Will I succeed? I don't know, but I can try it. It's a mindset. But again, depending on the situation, because there are things that are really in people's personality that are really challenging. But even within that, in that personality, there are things you can change or adjust. The view on yourself about being insecure, about what other people think. It's not an easy way. It's a hard way. It makes you at a certain point more insecure. But when you do make that step, I believe that it will make you break free more and enjoy life more.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling, I think.
Yeah.
When you realize something like happiness is a choice,
yeah,
you know, that's really a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Because you could get stuck in victim land, or whatever the word we're going to use, you know. But when you decide to pick yourself up and get out of that, it is powerful because you could become far more resilient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Far more resilient.
And again, there are people that have so super shitty lives that are really in situations that, I can't say, I'll be positive. No, of course not. People in war with, I don't know, home situations or whatever. That is super shit. That's a different thing. But there is a level of that you can influence on. Look at the things that you can change. Some things you can't change, but some things you can. Try to focus on that. It's a small opening in the darkness sometimes. And you can use that energy to at least then, it's better to feel only one moment a week that you have a good moment instead of having a bad moment the whole week. So then grab to that moment you can create that gives you some happiness.
Hold on that.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
It's funny, you touch on things. There's a book I read called The Atomic Habit. I think it is Atomic Habits.
Okay.
And by a guy called James Clear. But he talks about habit forming being like 4 steps.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you're talking about there, is you're basically talking about there's something that triggers you, that cues you, you get a response.
Yeah.
You know, you want to go and then you smell chocolate, you're like, oh. Or if you're sitting every evening watching TV and every evening you have chocolate, the one evening you don't have chocolate, your body's like, oh, what's going on here today? You know, can I have some chocolate, please? You're just like, no. But you're like, you can train yourself not to think like that because it's all up here. You know, it's a totally mental thing, which is hard to do. But like you said, far more fulfilling. And obviously you're a good example of this because you're perpetually happy.
Now I am. I don't know where I am within 5 years or 10 that I'm completely burned out. I don't know. But that's, I embrace each day. I enjoy everything in life. And when there are problems on my path, then I'll deal with them. I don't avoid them. I mean, that's life. I prefer to attack it instead of avoiding these things.
Is that a more recent change, or
no? I think like that's a part of me.
Okay.
I always had situations that they were there, and you need to deal with them. Sometimes you can't pick things in life life happens to you on certain levels.
Yeah. Oh, life always happens.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you about your 5-year plan.
My 5-year plan.
Did it actually go to plan perfectly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Really?
because when I said it when I was 40. Now I'm 47.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, I made the switch to become a full-time freelancer as a character designer. So that I was 45 then. So it was, started at 40, 45, 5 year.
Why was it important for you to switch to animation then? Why was animation?
It's about story. And in the game, the focus is also a lot on the gameplay. And nowadays, more and more with monetization. And so when you have a project, you focus on how it looks and story and how it feels. But there's also a big focus on earning money in a certain way. And I didn't feel connected with that. I want to focus on a true product that comes from the heart and experience. But again, it depends because there are so many games out there that really look great, but I don't have any connection with games. I really, I love movies, animation movies, and I don't know. It's
that's interesting. Is it because you're an observer rather than a participant?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and then as a participant, you mean regarding with games that you.
Actually playing it.
Yeah. I used to play when I was maybe 17 or 18. I used to play games or younger. But I felt that I didn't have connection with that. And now...
Then you didn't have a connection.
Well, I played it because we didn't have that many options in entertainment. You had some things on TV and then maybe it's a certain phase or with friends you play games. But I didn't connect with that too much. But with movies, I did. I always had that thing. In not only animation movies, movies overall. I remember that in a certain life, I had my bedroom was filled with those videotapes. I went to those how do you call it, second-hand markets, and I tried to find certain classic movies. And then I got more and more videotapes, so I could watch all the movies that I wanted to. I copied them from the video store. 2 video recorders in my bedroom. My dad bought those also on the second-hand markets for cheap. So then when I was a little kid, I already had so many movies in my room, hidden, illegal movies then. So when I had kids over to play, we watched the movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so that I had them all on videotape that were you can only see or rent in the video store.
What a different time, huh?
Yeah. And nowadays you can watch all the movies wherever you want, and Netflix. But then you had the videotapes.
Yeah.
And those were really big. So I had shelves filled with them.
They were chunky, like this, you know?
Yeah, like that, yeah.
Like that, but wider.
But I do remember the feeling of the search for it was like gold. When I found a certain videotape somewhere, or they sold it at a place, I was like, wow. They didn't, because it was in the time period where they didn't sell movies officially in shops. Only go to the movies, then you could rent them, and then there came a point that you could buy movies, and then you get the DVDs, and then suddenly everything changed.
I remember when DVDs came in.
Yeah.
I remember buying my first one, I think was Monsters Incorporated. I was only like 11 at the time, and I went in with my money to the shop, and I was like, can I buy this? You know, kind of thing. But I remember getting a DVD player, and that's when my brain, because they always had bonus features on the DVDs.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which was the best thing, because I loved the movies, but I was really interested in how they were made.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was Lord of the Rings, they had like every movie they released on it had an extended edition, and then they also had 2 discs of bonus features.
Yeah, I still have those.
Incredible, like, you know.
Yeah, those were great.
What a resource.
Yeah.
So, you know, that really inspires me, just having access to this kind of stuff, you know. But you're right, it was like a gold hunt back then.
And the same thing because we talked about last week about animation movies that inspired you when you were young. It was limited because, for example, with the Disney movies, at a certain, you could see them in the theaters, but they wouldn't be released on tapes. They, I don't know, they had a plan like that they would release them in theater again after 10 years, but you never could rent these Disney movies. You could never see them. When they were out of the theaters, you couldn't see them. So there were a couple of movies that were available to rent, but those were different kind of studios that made them. And when I was lucky, you had an animation movie on TV that you could get on your videotape at home, and you watch that over and over again.
On your recorder, yeah.
Yeah, on a recorder, yeah. So then I had a couple of movies that I watched over and over again. And you mentioned Hugo the Hippo. That's one of the movies that I saw many times.
Yeah.
I remember when I was walking around there as a kid that I found a tape from, for example, from The Dark Crystal. And I didn't know about that movie as a kid, but I remember how special it was. I can even remember how the videotape looked around me with the light and... But it really felt magic, and I still have it. It was the Secret of Nim, and I still carry that feeling inside me.
It's amazing you're able to still connect so deeply to that honestly.
Yeah.
And I think that's really one of the strengths that comes across from you, Jeremy, that I see, is how honest you are in your approach.
Yeah.
You know what you want, you know what you don't want. You're through on that line.
Yeah.
And if you're not unsure about something, I think you take the time to think about it, which is really important.
Yeah. And I'm somebody who is always honest. Sometimes maybe too honest. It is a positive thing and a negative thing.
but I mean honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing you need to learn. When I promise something to somebody, then I will stick to my word. So then I know if I made that promise, well, I will do it. So, but that's also then a reason for me to really only say yes when I know when I'm going to do it. And I know that sometimes back in the days, I once, you say yes and then, I need to do it. And I don't feel like it, but I promised, and then you feel shitty about it. And that I don't want to do that. I don't want to be worried about these things that I don't like to do. So I always am honest about, I'm going to do it or not. And that's also good for the person as well, because if you say, yes, I'm going to do it, they expect you to do it. And I dislike it when people promise me things and I expect them to help me or I don't know, whatever. And then you don't hear from them ever again.
Yeah.
Like, then just say it, man. No, there's nothing bad about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because people are afraid that they hurt. No, it's not hurting. They need to learn to accept a no as well. But people are afraid that people won't accept a no. And that's the same thing with the artists on Instagram. They are afraid that people... No, it's your choice. You do what you like. And if people have a problem with that, that's not because how you act. It's it's their problem. They can't deal with the situation. You are honest and you follow your heart.
That's great.
Yeah.
Would you have any advice for people now who are starting out drawing?
Starting out drawing?
Or people who are drawing but don't feel good about themselves?
Easier said than done. It's a draw what you like. It really starts with that. First, be happy with what you draw. Draw the themes you like, whatever. Don't care about what other people tell you about. Oh, that theme doesn't work, or you have the stories about people that draw manga. Or if you like to draw that for yourself, then do it. If you want to go higher up on a certain level, then you need to do research about what's out there. Are there jobs out there? Be realistic, because I'm always honest to people that I talk to. There's a limited amount of spots out there regarding being an artist. You need to be good. You need to be realistic. Where am I? I need to step up with my skills. I need to practice way more. But then that's why I say, first, be happy with creating, because even if you don't succeed in finding that job, then you still have your artwork to create. And that's the first thing that you need to be happy with, because reality is there's not a spot for everybody, I guess, but there's a spot everywhere for your own personal work. You will never be limited with that. Again, I've worked in clothing stores, and even maybe in the future, I need to do different things, but I accept that.
That's your advice.
Yeah, it's maybe shitty advice. I don't know.
No, that's good advice.
No, but advice and draw. You need to draw, because people approach me and say, "Yeah, I love characters. I want to be characters." Well, show me stuff. Well, I don't have anything to show. Yeah, step up, create artwork. You need to, I mean, if you want to be a top athlete, you need to practice, you need to run, you need to lift weights, you need to adjust your what you eat. Welcome to the life of being a professional art. You need to practice. There are no shortcuts, because that's also a thing that you see with the young kids. They think there's a shortcut and you get it. No, it's blood, sweat, and tears, and you need to practice. But if you love what you do, then it won't hurt, because then it gives you energy, and you don't need to get there right away. I mean, the people approach me, I'm too old. And how old are you? Yeah, I'm in 20. Hey, you're too old. You're super young.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I made the switch when I was 40. So then it gives them hope and motivates them to that you don't have to get there right away. You can make that switch later on. But you do need to have the passion. I think it starts with the love and passion for creating. Not because you want to make money, it's because of you want to create, do beautiful things. And then if you are really happy with that, people will notice and see that, and then magic can happen.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
And I really appreciate your time. Like I said, it's such a pleasure to sit down with someone who's so clued in to their own experience, that they're able to honestly approach that and be honest with their emotions at the moment, which I think, is not a skill that's lacking, but I think it's a skill that many people find too uncomfortable to develop. But you're obviously a great representation of just try,
Oh, well, great to hear that. And I'm happy to help out or to motivate people and to be themselves and trust their own instincts and follow their heart. I mean, that's the beauty of life. Embrace everything that's around you.
Wow. Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great being here.
I'll leave it there. I'll stop all these things.